Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will see a presentation on curriculum planning. Before we are going to the presentation, if you are not subscribed to my channel, please press the subscribe button so that you will get any updates in the channel. And today we are going to see different aspects of curriculum planning, such as the meaning, the need for curriculum planning, and the models as well as different approaches to curriculum planning. So curriculum planning is very essential process which is considered as a continuous process concerned with making decisions about what to learn, why and how to organize the teaching learning process. It's a definition by UNESCO. So what to learn, that we have to plan, as well as why these topics or activities included, and how to organize this teaching learning process. That's very important, very basic aspects of curriculum planning. And this planning naturally happens at three levels. There is a national level, a state level, or an institution level, or classroom level. These are the three levels of curriculum planning. And at national level, development of a broad curriculum framework. You might have familiar with the curriculum framework 2005, NCF 2005. It's an example for a national level curriculum planning. And a broad framework, not a curriculum as such, but a broad framework was prepared. And what is the advantage of framework is that it is flexible. We can modify it, we can add something, or the framework is as such. We can decorate it, we can add ingredients into it, add examples, add something which is locally significant, and or we can eliminate some process, some aspects which are not familiar. So along with the framework, an outline of the syllabus of different subjects also can be framed at national level for reference for the individual institutions or individual states. So this is the main purpose at national level, because to keep a uniformity in curriculum throughout the nation. So that's at national level. And naturally there can be revisions, modifications at state level or institution level also. So for example, we can see the national level curriculum is followed by as such in CBSE institutions. So there is no further agency at state level to take up with any kind of state level changes. So the national level curriculum is that process, that planning, that document is as such adopted by institutions under CBSE in different states. But in other case, each individual state has the right to modify the curriculum to according to their needs and interests. So at state level, for example, SCRT, you might have heard about SCRT, State Council for Educational Research and Training, and in their leadership at state level also a curriculum planning is happened. So that also is for various subjects, and without much changes in the framework as such. Within that framework the changes will occur. So that changes can be, that planning can be at state level or at institutional level. And the third level or the lowest level is the classroom level. So in classroom, the curriculum planning is more at micro level. It's a detailed planning or planning into learning units or into learning lessons or different topics, and within the topics regarding various activities, experiences, etc. So these are the three levels of curriculum planning, and which is considered as a continuous process because it is very significant. Then what is the need for curriculum planning? Why this planning is necessary? The first and foremost need or significance of curriculum planning is to ensure all students experience a quality education. So that's the first thing. All learners should receive quality education. So we need to plan our curriculum properly to ensure that all students get quality education. And another aspect is it should be appropriate to the learner needs because our world is changing in many ways. So the curriculum also should be matched with the changes in the world as well as the needs of the learner. Then there should be continuous updation in content as well as in the process. Both the content can be new information, new knowledge will be generated by new and new inventions, and naturally content, the inventions are not restricted to content only. Naturally there will be changes in practices, in processes also, in the process of learning or the transaction process, new methodologies, new strategies for learning or teaching learning process also get invented in due course. So that also should be incorporated into the curriculum. So that's another significance. Then there will be techno-pedagogical changes. There will be changes in technology as well as in pedagogy. So both the changes should be incorporated into the curriculum. So that also is another point. Then changing demands of respective fields. So the fields, if we talk about education as our field, the field of teaching, which undergoes changes from time to time. So the curriculum should be matched with some that kind of changes that happen in the respective field of work. Then natural as well as environmental elements. There can be some elements which natural or environmental conditions, calamities, epidemics, etc. also demand curriculum planning, because we know we all the world over is familiar with the current lockdown of in relation to the new virus infection that may happen in future also. So that demands a thorough planning or thorough revision in the existing form of curriculum. So that also is a relevant aspect regarding curriculum planning. Then political or policy decisions. That's another aspect which demand or require planning of curricula. Many a times policies are formed. You are familiar with different kinds of different policies at national level. National policy on education, national policy on child rights, national policy on early childhood care and education. There are various kinds of policies, and there are naturally the power structure in every nation greatly influence the curriculum, as well as the curriculum planning process And wherever there is a change in power, they naturally promote for or they decide for a curriculum change. So all these aspects, from the point of view of students to a policy, there are various aspects which always demand planning for curriculum. Then there are models of curriculum planning. Kelly in 1999 proposed three models for curriculum planning. The models are curriculum as content and education as transmission. That's the first model, in which curriculum is considered as a list of a group of related content or related topic. Hence it is called discipline or subject oriented curriculum. So a curriculum is considered as a list of topics, related topics, interrelated topics, which shall be transmitted. And the second one is curriculum as product and education as instrumental. And here it means objective or outcome oriented. So emphasis is given on objective, realization of objectives or outcomes of education. And the third model, curriculum as process and education as development. So the third model signifies stress on process, not on product, but to do the process, and which naturally result in development. So these are the three models proposed by Kelly: education as content or knowledge, then education as product, and curriculum as process. So these three, content, product and process, these three models can be utilized for curriculum planning. When we are giving more emphasis on content or knowledge, so then discipline or subject oriented curriculum shall be planned. If we want to give emphasis to more on product, we want good product, quality products, then we have to give emphasis more on objective or outcome based education, outcome based curriculum. And when we have a perception that a quality process will naturally produce good products, then we can adopt the third model of curriculum, that is curriculum as process. So there are different approaches for planning. There is a 6-step approach for curriculum planning, and the steps are: establish a value base for the program. So there shall be, that is the first step. So value for the program, what are the vision elements for the program, and why this program, what all these programs aimed of the basic of the program. Then develop a conceptual framework about the program. Then determine the program goals. What are the specific goals derived from the conceptual framework? And to design the program, the duration, if it is a semester program, the number of semesters, then what are different courses we can include in the program, etc. Then establish program assessment procedures, how this program can be assessed, what all tools and techniques can be adopted to assess the program, not the assessment of students, but the program as such, and implement the program. And after deciding its evaluation, the 6th step is implementation of the program. The program shall be implemented. This is the 6 steps, and at the implement stage we have a thorough plan of how to implement to which group, or whether it is a mass implementation. Usually it is better to implement any new program to a small group as a pilot implementation. Then only we can identify the practical difficulties or issues arises from the implementation. So these are the 6 steps in the planning process. It's a one kind of approach for curriculum planning. There also is another approach, something more detailed, which is a 10-step approach for curriculum planning. There are 10 steps. First one is identifying or stating a curriculum need. So that's the first step, whether there is a need for curriculum change. So only if there is a need for a new curriculum, then we have to plan for that. That's the first step. Or if we perceived a need, but we have to establish the significance why this curriculum is necessary. So that's the very backbone of that this approach. And developing curricular goals and objectives. Then once we establish the need of the curriculum, then the second step is developing the goals and objectives of the curriculum. What are the goals of the curriculum and what are the objectives of curriculum? That should be developed. Then as a third step, planning and organizing resources and identifying constraints. That's the third step, planning and organizing resources. So what resources shall be incorporated into the curriculum? What are the essential resources that should not be missed out from incorporating as learning experiences? And to identify the problems in utilizing those resources. And those resources should be, there should be a planning for organizing these resources, when and where these can be utilized, and what are the difficulties in utilizing these resources. And the fourth step is organizing and stating the functions of curriculum committees. So naturally, there will be different committees at different levels for this kind of curriculum planning or curriculum development exercises. So there should be a detailed description of functions of various committees or committees at various levels. That also is essential. Who will do what, and that will help to remove confusions at various stages. And as fifth step, establishing the roles and responsibilities of personnel involved. So the going deep into the committees, each committee will be constituted by different personnel, and the number of committees can be something, it may be a large committee, and which is composed by different personnel. So the role and responsibility of each person within the committee shall be described. Then identifying and analyzing new curriculums or programs to meet the curricular need. So we have to identify and analyze new curriculum or new programs to meet the need. We have already identified the need of the curriculum as the first step. So it's a task to, while we constitute committees and incorporate personnels, describe their roles in the committee, and then we have to identify appropriate curriculum as well as appropriate programs. Then as step number 7, assessing and selecting new curriculum. We have to, by analyzing, we have to select the new curriculum, appropriate curriculum with regard to our identified needs. Then design it the curriculum and regarding its duration, if it is semester or year-wise or trimester, whatever it is, and the number of courses within the program, what are the different theoretical postulations should be included, what are the practical components, and how these should be organized, what assessment procedure and should be included, etc. And all these aspects influence the designing of the curriculum, so that also should be planned. Then implementing the new curriculum, and once we design the curriculum, we should plan for its implementation, because all curriculums are designed for implementing. So that also how and which is the best time, or which population is good for implementing this new curriculum, and evaluating the curriculum. So once implemented, the first implementation should be naturally will be an experimental implementation, and only after implementation we should know what are the issues in that curriculum, if any. Naturally there will be practical issues, and there will be some other administrative problems, and different kinds of issues can happen. So that is the step number 10. So this approach is somewhat more detailed. Begin with the identifying need for a curriculum, and it ends at evaluating the curriculum. So in this presentation, we have discussed different aspects of curriculum planning, such as the meaning of curriculum planning, the significance, the model proposed by Gelli, and the different approaches to planning. So thanks for watching the presentation. Thank you all.